Of course, you weren't supposed to tell people, but I tell people now, but I'm hesitant now even to tell people I did that because I found out that Ted Bundy did the same thing. He was a volunteer on a suicide prevention hotline. And another highlight is being a member of the Chimney Rock Volunteer Fire Department. That's certainly meant a lot to me here too. Probably most meaningful, other than my beautiful wife Linda, who accepted my proposal, was my association with Steve Gale and being a Hickory nut and getting to make music together. It might not be the best sounding, but Steve has really written a lot of good songs. And if I have time tonight, I'm not going to play one of his songs. I'm going to play a Michael Reno song if I get time. Any questions? How did I do time-wise, Carl? Did I do okay?
You've got plenty of time. Tell them now about how you joined our church, which is why we're here.
How I joined the church.
Yeah. You don't
You didn't
remember?
come the first year.
You don't remember?
Well, I didn't come because, you know, I mean, I was, I guess I was working. I felt kind of bad about going up to church and leaving our employees there to do the thing. And so, I don't know, I just feel that's kind of, you know, you guys are stuck here, I'm going to go to church. You know, I just didn't feel comfortable about that. So, but anyway, you tell me, I can't remember other than that. But,
Well, other than the fact that you didn't go the first year and I went, and then because you were a Baptist, and then you decided one day that Father Mickey came down and helped us, and you decided I need to go to church with Linda.
So I started going and Linda quit.
The it's the Episcopalians.
yeah, so we did compromise. She was Catholic and I grew up Baptist over in As a matter of fact, I'll tell you this little story. When I was in the military, I would get so aggravated when I would ask somebody, hey, you know, I get talking to them, and they'd say they were from Chicago. And once I get to talking to them, I find out they're like 200 miles from Chicago, you know, not really all that close. So I would always tell people that I grew up in Flat Creek. They wouldn't know where that was. I tell them it's about, 4 miles from Weaverville. They wouldn't know where that was or is. And I say, well, it's about 15 miles from Asheville. And most people that will know where West Asheville, North Carolina is there. And as a matter of fact, when I was about 4, maybe 4.5, when we lived on Jupiter Road, when Patrick and I were motorcycling, I went out, I hadn't been there in a long time, and I thought the driveway from the road going up was steeper and longer, but it's just, 10, 15 feet, not very far at all. But anyway, we were standing at the top of that gravel driveway, me, my brother, and the next door neighbor, David Buckner, and my brother and David were throwing rocks at those glass insulators on the telephone. Well, like I say, I was 4. I don't know how old that picture that I am right there, how old I was. I think I was older than 4 or 4.5. But I picked up a rock and threw it. It didn't come anywhere close to the telephone wires, but it did go far enough down to the highway, just as Mr. Black, who lived down the road, was coming by in his brand new Chevrolet. It hit the back window, the passenger side of the back, on that back rear, and shattered that. He slammed on the brakes. My brother picked me up. David split, ran to his house, which is next door. My brother picked me up, ran around the back of the house, and we made our way back around to the side where we could hide in some Easter bushes or forsythia, and we were watching Mr. Black. He was standing on the front porch with he had his hat in his hand, and he was talking to my mom through the screen door. So after he left, we went around and went in the back door, the kitchen. And we said, what did Mr. Black want? And she said, well, I told him that your father will take care of it when he comes in from work, which he did. That supper, now I tell you, I didn't eat anything hardly. But, you know, of course, Leonard, my brother Leonard told me, and that Dan wasn't, my other brother Dan wasn't anywhere around, that J.M., that's what they call me, J.M. then, he's the one that threw the rock and broke the window out. And so when we got finished eating, he drove us in his car down to Mr. Black's house. And Mr. Black, he didn't believe either that I was the one who had done it. I mean, I don't think I was still in diapers. But I was, you know, tiny. But Dad made arrangements to pay whatever it cost to fix his window. And he brought us back home. And as a matter of fact, about a couple of years ago, my two brothers were down at the house, and we were chit-chatting, talking how you talking about, hey, remember that time that threw that rock? And I said, you know, I don't remember getting a whipping from that. And Leonard said, buddy, I do. Pop, he took his belt off and wore me out. And I said, well, he felt like you were responsible. Or something. So, but anyway, what happened, of course, Halloween was just around the corner. So what Dad did, he put us in his car on that Halloween night, rode us down to Mr. and Mrs. Black's house, and it was, I think I showed you where, I don't think you know this story. You had never heard the story, had you, Patrick? But Mr. Black was about the end of that big long stretch down there past where I grew up, and his road turned to the left, and it was about that couple hundred yards down to his house through the woods. But back then, whenever you go trick-or-treating, people take you in their house, make you stand around, talk, and try to guess who you were, and that's what Mr. and Mrs. Black did to us. They knew who we were. Dad was standing right there. So, and plus I guess my brother, anyway, I don't remember, I was still pretty small then, but we apologized again for breaking the back window out of his new Chevrolet, and I don't think he still believed that I was the one that did it. And Mrs. Black gave us a popcorn ball with drizzle with the molasses and wrapped in wax paper and an apple. And so we left.
You
And
did pretty good.
the following year, Dad didn't take us down there, but he told us to go down there trick-or-treating Mr. and Mrs. Black's. So we did that again. That was a tradition every year, and it was the same thing every year. Go in, stand around there, figure out who you are. Popcorn ball wrapped in wax paper. Every year. So I got to be, of course I eventually grew up, of course, you know, I was going to ninth grade. I was too old to go trick-or-treating, but boy, I tell you, it was a beautiful Halloween night. It wasn't rainy, cold or anything, so I think I'll walk out and do a trick-or-treat on Mr. and Mrs. Black. I did. I walked down to their house, and they invited me in. I didn't have a mask or anything on, you know. And I sat down and actually ate my popcorn ball and had a cup of coffee with them right there. And we talked about things that old people talk about. They wanted the price of barley, what it's going to be that year, tobacco, and wanted to know who my school teachers were. Wanted to know what I was going to be when I got out of high school. I didn't have any idea at that time. So, but anyway, that was the last time I saw Mr. and Mrs. Black. I mean, he got busy with high school and been going to Washington, D.C. and everything. But one of the things they talked about was their grandchildren also, and their kids. And one of their kids they were particularly proud of, that was Wilford Black. He had just become the Salesman of the Month for the third month in a row at Parkland Chevrolet. But I did see him again. And that was, and I've seen him some since then, but it was the first time I'd seen him since that night was it was at West Funeral Home, if you know where that is in Weaverville. There was, I could even tell you who the body that was laying there, of course, it was Affie Moss, one of his boys, he was about 10 years old. He had, Affie had taken his family to the Coleman boundary, which is the other side of Barnardsville, but they had had a picnic. And they were finished picnicking, and Affie was loading the car up, taking the stuff, put back in the boxes of their food, and his son, who, like I said, is about 10 years old, he was going to help his dad. He carried some of those aluminum chairs back to the car, and he said, "Dad, sounds like we've got a tire going down over here." By the time that registered with Affie, that sound was not the sound coming of a tire, losing air. His son is already down looking at the tire, and a rattlesnake bit him right in the neck. That was sad. And they must have been so many, every school kid in the area was there at the funeral home, all the churches, like Morgan Hill, Locust Grove, Piney Mountain, Flat Creek, everybody. I mean, I had been there, I felt like about an hour, not knowing. I've been waiting in line. I still wasn't even in the sanctuary to receiving the friends. And I saw Wilfred Black pull up in his car. And he parked, and he was working his way down the crowd till he got to me. He was just working his way to after the line. And he stopped. About one of the first things he said to me after he said hello was, "Joe, you remember that time you threw that rock?" He said, "Do you ever think about it?"
Just call.
I said, "Yes, Wilfred, I do. I think about it every Halloween." Well, that's emotional. Well, if I have time, I'll do you a song. Unless you have questions.
Yeah, we got questions.
What's wax paper?
Oh, wax.
What's wax paper? What?
She's joking. She's making it.
I don't know.
Danny Holland, if you don't know Danny Holland.
I remember you talking about at some function we were at about being shot. And
Yeah, I'm
Yeah, in Vietnam. In Vietnam.
No, I'm not gonna do that.
Oh, yes, honey, you gotta do it.
Yeah.
Do it, honey.
You know you want
You
to,
can
Joe.
do it. You know you
Shrapnel?
want to.
You said something about shrapnel?
It's just where I got shot in Vietnam. But, okay, I will.
I don't like it, but you know.
It's awful.
I may have to move this
Don't
Yeah, there you
over
go.
here.
be. Show us.
You're gonna be like LBJ showing his scars.
Patrick's making sure you're in the view.